Hello and welcome back. I'm Jordan, and we're going to pick up where we left off. So last time we just applied the base coat of Bugman's Glow, and then I actually used Agrex Earthshade to wash. I wanted to use Ryko and Flesh Shade, but it just ended up where I had the Agrex, so I figured I'll just go with that. So what I've done now is I've got a little pod here of Bugman's Glow and a little pod of, I think it's, Cadian Flesh Tone, and I'm just going to kind of mix them together a little bit, and that's going to be our first layer. But the first one's going to be a majority of Bugman's Glow, because we're already layering up a little bit from the last color, and it's been shaded. That's pretty much what we're going to do this first time. So let's get to it. It's Friday here. Super excited about that. Big weekend coming up. One of the knights here ourselves is actually going to be getting married soon, so that's pretty cool. Blessings to him and his future wife. Outside of that, it's a normal life for us here in the Midwest. I know we're all suffering from COVID one way or the other, but it's just time to, I think we're getting really tired of being pent up. I know I am. With that being said, I've pretty much been social distancing my entire life, one would say. Not sure if I'm going to do 2 coats on this as we're painting this up. It does seem like it is something I'm probably going to end up doing. Yeah, it's definitely getting to the second coat on the raised portions. This is also a good way to paint in your own muscle groups if you know how muscles work and how they get joined together, and you want to make it more. Got cut off there. Sorry, I had a phone call and I'm using my phone today. So if you wanted to paint in real muscles or a more realistic muscle pattern, this would definitely be a good time to start doing that with your basic layer paints. Or you could do, what I'm kind of going to do with Gotrek is just kind of follow the pattern of the sculptor. It is a fantasy model after all. It doesn't have to be 100% realistic. It looks cool the way it is, I think. Just a little bit of work here on the bicep. Try to keep off the metal as much as we can now. Okay. First layer done. Let's go in for a second layer on just different parts that I think need it. Not sure there's too many, but we'll come in anyway and do what we want. You notice even on the layer sections, I still try to do 2 thin coats. And that's a theme that I think you if you haven't worked into it, you should work into it no matter what you do. I didn't used to do metallics in 2 thin coats, and now I do. I just think the application, yeah, that's fine, that's going to be wood later. I just think the application process is, it looks sloppy when you do it with metal, but it is so worth it to get. It's not even about hiding the details, it's about getting new gradients in the detail that wouldn't have been there had you just went straight in. And oh man, so this is a good chance to show what happens when you get paint on something you don't want. I have a second brush here, and I just licked it, but you could dip it in water, and you're just going to take the paint off and dab it on some paper towel and get as much as you can. If you don't plan on touching up later. So like, I don't want to have to go back to that piece, so I'll just do it now. Where were we? Oh, metallics in 2 layers, yeah. So it's so much easier to nip that in the bud and do it in 2 layers and get these interesting gradients you wouldn't normally have had you just come at it and gone over it in one flat layer. At least I think so. After, I'm not saying I'm the end-all be-all, but after painting for several years, that's what I've found out. Is that thinning your paints is the way to go. It's interesting seeing the lighting on the camera versus the real lighting. The real lighting is far more flattering, and I'm not sure if that's just a byproduct of the camera. Okay, sorry for jumping around. We keep having phone calls and whatnot come in. So we're gonna kind of do a wet blend. I've got more Cadia Flesh Tone into the Bugman's mix we already have, and I added a little bit of water. And we're just gonna step into the next one. See what we can pull out. And then it's an interesting thing I didn't bring up. His nose and cheeks, I'm probably going to be washing pink over later. Because I really like that ruddy look. And actually I'm going to get a little bit more water in this. I really like the ruddy, almost drunkenness looking nose type the dwarves have. Big fan of that. Get his belly. Come in and pick out a raised piece of the shoulder muscle. I think, I don't have any plans to do it right now, but I think, because I finished so many units for dwarves so far, I may just do a review of all of them. I'm unsure if I'm going to do that, but I'm thinking about it. Something I've been wanting to do. I'm definitely going to do it for Bretonia, I think. I haven't seen too many tactics videos. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right place. It's still got a bit, and then we're going to go to the final highlight. Yeah, this needs a little bit more water too. And this is where we're going to pick out the least amount of detail, because you want it to stand the highest on the model. It's easy to overdo this one. So we're just going to focus up. Do just a teeny bit here and there. It's also worth noting that you want to keep layering up in the same spots, doing less and less, and not just come in and slap the highest highlight in the darkest spot. I know most of you probably realize that, but I figured it better to mention it than to just hope someone knows that, and then be sad later when it looks weird. Okay, I actually think this is a great place to stop on the skin. Still a little wet in there. It'll tone itself down when it dries out. Just a little bit more here. Really drawing the muscles. Yeah, and you can see it's still pretty wet. And it's just how it goes when you're painting. This is going to be a great model when he's done. So this is a good place to stop. I'll splice all the videos together. Sorry we kept getting interrupted. And then when we come back, we'll probably do pinks. And I'm not sure if we're going to do where all we're going to do them. But for certain, The nose and cheeks are going to get some pink to them, and that's just an easy thing, so we'll probably combine that with something else. Maybe we'll do the first layer of the orange on the beard, which I think, if you wanted an opinion right now, I think working up from a brown is the best way to do that. Put the brown down, wash the brown, put down a little bit brown orange, wash that, and then go to your highest highlight. I think that's the best depth-wise that you can get. But we'll talk about it later. It's interesting here, looking at this in person and looking at it in camera. In camera, I'm seeing like tons of different depth through the simple washes and the simple kind of, it's like a mix of a dry and a wet blend that we have going on here. But in person, you don't see this quite high definition as you do on the top of the shoulder and the middle of this and all that. It's super different on the camera, but and you can see the brush strokes, but in person you really can't. It's very unique. I haven't noticed that in the past, but this is a good tip for me, at least looking at it, seeing things that like I can improve in. Like this camera is showing me mistakes, I guess you can call them, that I would like to change. So that's valuable information to have. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna constantly take pictures or videotape while I'm painting just to see what's going on. I would almost say no, that's not going to happen. But it's good to have this ability to just check yourself that I didn't have before. I got a few more seconds. I'll just do a couple more touch-ups. Okay, well, thank you everybody. You have a great weekend.